Welcome back, class. So we are starting our next chapter, which is actually DC machines. So we learned some basics of the DC machine in chapter 1, and if you remember that at the end of the chapter 1 we touched some basic more details about the operation of the DC machines. Okay, and after that we learned many in details about the AC machines. Okay, and we studied different kind of things like synchronous generators, synchronous motors, and the induction motors. Okay, all these are AC machines. Okay, and now in this chapter we will be focusing on the DC machines. Okay, so although AC is very common, okay, and we have a lot of application for the AC machines, but still the DC machines are being used, okay, for a lot of other applications. Okay, for example, still the power system in your vehicles and for example trucks, or even like the aircrafts and many others. Okay, so the power system is still is operating on the DC. Most of the components are operating on the DC power. Okay, so for the operation of the different application in vehicle, trucks, aircrafts, we need the DC machines, and also there are like many other applications in the like robotics or the other kind of. Okay, so in this chapter we will learn that, okay, about the some basics about the construction of the DC machines. Okay, then we will learn about what are the different kinds of the DC machines, what will be the power flow and losses. Okay, equivalent circuits of the different kinds of DC machines, and efficiency, and at the end we will also touch the DC generator. So basically in this chapter we will cover both things, DC motors and DC generator. Okay, and we know that the difference between the motor and generator is just the flow. Okay, so the motor is converting your electrical power to the mechanical, and the generator is converting your mechanical input power to the electrical. Okay, so for example, if you are making the equivalent circuit of the DC motors, if you just make reverse of that, you will get the equivalent circuit of the DC generator. So similarly, if you are making the power flow diagram for the DC motor, so just reverse that and you will get for the DC generator. Okay, so these are the just equivalent of each other. So let's start with the basics. Okay, so let's see first the construction of the DC machines. Okay, so basically as like earlier machines, so the first one thing which I want to clarify here, the most of the concepts, okay, which we guys have learned in the earlier chapters. Okay, so those concepts are being used. Okay, so basically the operation of the DC machines, okay, the big difference between the DC and AC is, for example, we have learned that in the AC machine, for example, if you are rotating the this is your stator, and this rotating globe is your rotor, right? So if you rotate this rotor using an external shaft, okay, we're supplying some mechanical power, and we use the slip ring hairs, and we can get the AC output, right? We learned this thing earlier. So for the one complete rotation, okay, we will get the one complete cycle of the AC, right? So in the AC machines we use actually the slip rings. Okay, slip ring to avoid the jumbling of the wires. Okay, so these connection of wires, and here we use just the brushes. Okay, so the construction, okay, and also we learned that, so basically in the AC machines your we are having two kinds of the magnetic fields. One is the stator magnetic field and the other one is the rotator magnetic field, and the both are rotating, right? But in DC machine, if you guys remember from the first chapter, okay, so your stator magnetic field, for example, this is your permanent magnet stator, so this stator magnetic field will remain stationary. Okay, it's not rotating, right? So usually we rotate our rotor. Okay, so for the DC machine, the other name of the rotor, as we learned earlier also, is also armature. Okay, so the armature and the rotor are just the same. Just to differentiate between like the AC or the DC machines, okay, different names are used. Okay, also like the generator and the motors, So the operation is same. So we have a rotor here, okay, or armature here, and it is placed in a stationary, okay, fixed magnetic field here, which is being generated due to this permanent magnet. Okay, now for example, this is actually showing if this rotor is rotating with the external power supply. Okay, so at the output, okay, actually we will get the AC, right? So rotor is rotating, our output will be AC, okay, like this one. So in the DC machines, as we don't need alternating current, so this is alternating current, right? So for the half of the cycle you have the positive and then you have the negative here. So in the DC, basically you just need the one polarity, right? So that would be your DC. Okay, so basically what is actually happening here, okay, when we are actually getting we use the slip rings, okay, so for the first half of the cycle, the one line, so for example if this is my permanent magnet, let's say this one, and I just place my armature here, okay, and this armature is rotating, so we just connect like the slip ring hairs, okay. So for the half of the cycle we will get the positive polarity, okay, for the half of the rotation. Then for the other half of the rotation we will get the negative polarity, right? That is your AC, right? So in the DC machines, so basically we will be getting the AC hairs. So here we use another device which is actually called commutator. Okay, commutator is nothing. Here we use the slip rings, okay, in the AC machine. So here we are using the split rings. Commutator is just a device which is a split rings. Okay, so basically what I want to do, okay, for the half cycle, for example, I have the positive polarity, okay, then for the next half cycle I have the negative polarity. So I want to change the polarity of this one, okay, so that I will get the only the one polarity, for example positive polarity only. Okay, so to change the polarity for the second half cycle, okay, so here we will use the split ring, okay, like this one. Okay, so it will be just one ring, okay, and that will be just split from half. Okay, so here we are just having the brushes. Okay, now what will happen when the half of the rotor cycle is complete? Okay, so these slip rings, okay, they are rotating, okay, so their interaction with the brushes, it will be interchanged. Okay, so for example, if you are getting the positive supply here at this loop, okay, now for the negative cycle, okay, so the other half, okay, this will be coming at this side, okay, so and the result will be we will getting the same polarity. Okay, so this device is actually called commutator. Okay, like here you can see more explanation. So this is my just armature. Okay, so this is like for the first half. Now for the second half, now you can see that we will the second part of your split ring, it will be connected to this brush. Okay, so it will ensure that we are getting the same polarity at the output. Okay, so the DC machine, okay, like for AC machines, okay, we could have only one armature, okay, or just like one rotating lobe, okay, or we could have multiple lobes. For example, this figure is showing two lobes. Okay, so you are using one armature lobe and you have another armature lobe, so you just want to increase the efficiency of your motor, you want to smooth the operation of the motor. So when we add a second rotor second armature loop here, so we will be using the separate commutator. Okay, commutator, or we will use the separate split ring for that one. Okay, similarly if I add more loops here, for example in the actual practical machine we have multiple loops. Okay, so for these multiple loops we will be using the multiple split rings, okay, for each loop. So for each loop we will have the separate commutator. Okay, so the purpose of using multiple loops is we want to smooth the operation of the motors. Okay, and then in the practical machines to further so basically when the current will be flowing, you will cut in the flux here. So to increase the flux intensity, okay, we placed all our loops within a high permeable steel layers. So we have a yoke here, okay, yoke. So, and we have just the like we just make holes here, okay, and we place our loops, these loops within those yolks, which is actually make a high permeable steel layers, so that we can enhance the magnetic flux. Okay, so we have a stator, we get the yolk, and we get the armature, and we have the split ring here and the brushes here. Okay, so this is the basic structure of the DC machines. Okay, so in we use the simple permanent magnet, okay, like this one, okay, in small motors, okay, but in the practical, in the high capacity motors, we don't use the permanent magnet, we use actually electromagnet. Okay, electromagnet is one, you just have a electromagnetic core, okay, this is electromagnetic cores, and you will place the coils, okay, within that electromagnetic cores, and when the current pass through these coils, okay, so this electromagnetic core will actually turn into an electromagnet. Okay, this is just basics. Okay, so these coils which we place inside of this one, this is actually called field coils. Okay, these called as field coils. So these are my armature coils, okay, or rotor coils. Okay, so this is just the shaft, okay, just to for the rotation. Okay, now the question is that how we can actually feed these two coils. This is my field coils and this is my armature coil. Okay, so if you feed them separately, like separate for example, we are talking about the DC motor case. So if you are feeding the armature coil separately and the field coil separately, then that machine is actually called as separately excited DC motor. Okay, and there is one way, there is another way that we can feed both coils using the same source. Okay, for example, you are using some DC voltage source here and you are supplying to the armature coil, okay, using brushes. Okay, so then we can also feed the field coils using the same source. Okay, so if we feed using the same source, then there could be two possible combinations. Okay, that we can make this connection in series of both coils or in parallel. Okay, so if we make the connection in series, okay, for example, this is my armature coil, this is brushes, okay, and if I make series connection with the field coils here, okay, like you can see here, okay, and the other side is connected with the second end. Okay, so this is called actually series motor. Okay, and if I make the parallel connections, okay, between these two coils, that is called actually shunt motor. We will see in more details like what are the characteristics of the separately excited motor, what are the series motor and the shunt motor. So this is just the basic overview about the understanding of the basic construction of the DC motors. Okay, so there are some problems, okay, while we are using the commutators here. Okay, so basically in the with the commutators, okay, we are having the brushes here. Okay, so there will be brushes due to the brushes, okay, there will be losses. Okay, so that is one problem with the commutator. The other one is the armature reactions. So you guys have studied this thing in the earlier chapter. Armature reaction is what? For example, we are having the stationary magnetic field due to this permanent magnet, and then when the current is flowing through this armature coil, okay, for example, the current is flowing through this armature coil. Now when the current is flowing, okay, there will be rotor or the armature magnetic field, right? So you have one stator magnetic field and one rotor magnetic field. Now these two will interact. Okay, so if you guys remember, we will get the net magnetic field, and due to that net magnetic field, we will get the induced torque, which is actually rotating this armature coil. Okay, so this phenomena is actually called as armature reaction. So armature reaction basically affects the normal operation of the DC motors. Okay, so these are the just some basic issues with the DC motors. Okay, now let's see that what should be the internal generated voltage and the induced torque for the DC motors. Okay, so this is the expression which we have derived in the earlier chapters, that the internal generated voltage in the DC machines, okay, like in the chapter 1 and chapter 2, okay, we learned that the internal generated voltage is the K times of the phi times the omega, where K is just the geometrical parameters, right? where the internal generated voltage in a machine is depending on the geometrical parameters. Phi is your flux, generated flux, and omega is the rotational speed. Okay, how the angular speed of the your generator or the armature or the rotor, whatever you call. Okay, so if you are using in angular velocity, okay, radian per second, so that could be our equation, and if we are using in speed in rpm, so our equation could become this one. Okay, so geometrical parameters, for example, if you define the number of conductors at z, okay, and the number of coil at c, and the number of turns per coil at nc, so we can actually write the geometrical parameter like this one. Okay, this is actually not this is just for one case. Okay, so the important formulas, okay, here, okay, is this one. Okay, the same formula which we have derived earlier on. Okay, that the internal generated voltage is depending on the geometrical parameter, flux, and the angular speed. Okay, so again, as I said earlier, okay, I am not digging into the more details of the concepts which because we have learned similar things earlier on. Okay, so now let's see about the power flow and losses in the DC machines. Okay, so for example, let's say for the generator case. So for the generator case, we will be having the input mechanical power and we want converting to the electrical power, right? So for the mechanical power, okay, we will have the input power which will be equal to the applied torque multiplied with the angular velocity, right? So this is the input power. Okay, so before converting to the electrical power, okay, of course there will be stray losses, okay, of the core, okay, and the other miscellaneous losses. There will be mechanical losses and there will be core losses. Okay, and if you guys remember, we lumped all these losses in the form of the rotational losses. Okay, as like the other machines, the AC machines. Okay, so the subtraction of this one, okay, so subtraction of the rotational losses, all these losses from the input power, it will give us the converted power converted, right? So power converted is actually the power, the actual mechanical power which will be converted to the electrical power. Okay, so the power converted will be equal to the induced torque multiplied with the angular velocity, or we can say that it will be equal to the internally generated voltage multiplied with the armature current, right? The power converted will be induced torque multiplied with the angular velocity, or the internal generated voltage multiplied with the armature current, right? So this is the converted power, and then before the transfer of this converted mechanical power to the electrical power, okay, we will have the electrical losses, right? So electrical losses will be in the form of the I square R losses. So what are the I square R losses in this case? Okay, so in this case, of course, you have the armature loops, so we will have the armature losses which we represent using PA, and that will be equal to the armature current square multiplied with the armature resistance, right? Then we have the field coils, right? So we'll have the field coil losses which we present using PF, okay, and that will be equal to what? The field current magnitude square multiplied with the field current resistance. Okay, and then additionally, okay, in the DC motor we are using the brushes with this split rings. Okay, so we will have the brush drop losses. Okay, so we represent brush drop losses using brush PBD, brush drop losses. That will be equal to just the voltage drop across the brushes multiplied with the current flowing through them. So the flowing current through the brushes will be the actually armature current. Okay, so these three are basically summed as the electrical losses. Okay, so the power converted, okay, minus these electrical losses, that will be our actually output power. So output power will be power converted minus the electrical losses, and the electrical losses are all these losses. Okay, so this is just the power flow diagrams. Okay, so similar like as we learned earlier, that from the input power subtract all losses, and that will be equal to actually your output power. Okay, so power converted, the relationship is torque induced angular velocity or the internal generated voltage multiplied with the armature current. Okay, so if you want to write the induced torque, so induced torque will be equal to EA IA divided by the angular velocity, right? And what is the EA? Okay, internal generated voltage for the motor. So internal generated voltage for the motor is K times geometrical parameter flux times the armature current. So just plug in this thing here. So induced torque will be K flux times IA. K flux times omega. This is not. So K flux times omega divided by omega multiplied with the IA. So this omega will be cancelled out. So the induced torque will be K flux times the armature current. So this is another expression for the induced torque, okay, which we just derived from this one. So in the lectures, you will be seeing multiple expressions. So we can derive the one from the other, okay, but the understanding should be clear, okay. So this is the power flow diagram for the generator, and now if you have the motor, so that will be reverse. So in the motor you have the electrical power, so there will be electrical losses, the same losses you are having we derived here, okay, the armature current, the field current, the brush drop, okay. So then we will have the power converted, and the all rotational losses, that will be equal to your actual mechanical power, or the which will be torque applied multiplied with the angular velocity, okay. So the power flow diagrams, okay, of the DC machines are similar like for the AC machines, okay. Just the only difference is here, okay, that in the electrical losses we are getting another loss, which is actually the brush drop losses, okay. Sometimes we ignore this brush drop losses and we have only the armature losses and the field losses, okay. So these are just the basics about the power flow diagram, okay. And most of the DC motors, okay, we compared them with their by their speed regulations, and you guys know that what is the speed regulation? Difference of the no load speed with the full load speed divided by the no load speed, okay, that is actually called speed regulations, okay. And most DC motors we categorize using the speed regulations, and DC generator, if you guys remember, we categorize using the voltage regulations, right? No load volt, full load voltage, and the no load voltage, okay. So this is just the summary parameter for the characterization of the two machines. Generator we categorize using the voltage regulations, and motors we categorize using the speed regulations, okay. So as explained earlier in the start of this lecture, okay, we have different kind of the DC motors, and we basically categorize them mainly based on the how we are actually feeding them, okay, how we are actually feeding the field coils and the armature coils. So if you have separately excited DC motor, you are separately exciting your field coil and the armature coil. Shunt, okay, parallel, you are exciting both of them in parallel, okay. The permanent magnet DC motors, so the simplest form, that in which you use just simple one permanent magnet. The series DC motor, the both coils, the field coil and armature coil are connected in series, and the compounded, so you can make the mixture of the either of them, okay. So now we will study a couple of them, okay, in more details. We will try to make the equivalent circuit models, and we will try to learn that what are the differences, okay, of the different kind of the DC motors in terms of the speeds, induced torque, and the equivalent circuits. So first of all, let's see equivalent circuit models. So if you want to make the equivalent circuit models, okay, so as like the earlier circuit models of the motors, okay, we will have the armature circuit, okay. We are talking about here the general DC motors, okay. Okay, so we will have the armature, okay. So in the general DC motor, you are actually providing the electrical power, okay, which is being converted to the mechanical power. So we will have the internal generated voltage, and we will have the RA, which is the armature resistance, okay. So this part is actually armature circuit, and with the armature we have the brushes. So the drop about the brushes we are representing within the V brush. Similarly, we will have the stator circuit, which is just the field coil circuit. So the field current will be flowing here, and we have the field coil resistance and the inductance, okay, of the field coil circuits. And here we will have the adjustment resistance. So the operation of the adjustment resistance is same as we studied for the earlier circuit models, that it is used just to control the IF values, okay. So as we learned earlier, we can simplify this, okay, we can combine these two things and we can represent using only RF, and if we ignore the brushes losses, so this will be our simplified circuit, right? So for example, let's say you are supplying input terminal voltage is VT, okay, and you are using the separate excited DC motors. So you are using the separate excitation for the field circuit, let's say VF, okay. So the current IF will be flowing here. So IF current will be equal to what? VF divided by RF, right? Why I am using RF? We are talking about the DC. So for the DC case, so inductance impedance will be 0. Okay, so we will having only the RF. Okay, and if you want to write the expression for the terminal voltage here, so terminal voltage will be equal to what? EA plus IA into RF, right? So that will be just the expression for the V terminal voltage, or EA can be written as just the VT minus IA into RA, just the simplified expressions. Okay, so now the important thing is, okay, so this is the general equivalent circuit model. Now we will make the more simplified circuit model for the different kinds of the DC motors. Okay, so before going, let's quickly see the magnetization curve. Okay, so if you have a general ferromagnetic material, we know that the ferromagnetic force, okay, so if you are supplying the ferromagnetic force, okay, so if you remember the relationship, the ferromagnetic force by flux times the reluctance, right? So as the ferromagnetic force is increasing, your flux will be increasing for that material, okay, until you reach the saturation point. Okay, so in the motor case, what is actually happening? Or we also know that this is actually equal to IF, okay, times the number of the turns of the coils, right? Whatever we are having here. Okay, so in the motor case, we are actually having internal generated voltage, which was equal to K times flux time omega, right? So basically internal generated voltage, okay, it is proportional to your flux and the speed. So let's assume we are having the constant speed. So if we assume the constant speed case, then the internal generated voltage will be proportional to your flux. And your flux is depending on what? Your flux is depending how much field current you are having, right? So your flux, because the field current IF is actually produce your flux, right? And that flux produce flux, and that flux then generate the internal generated voltage, right? This is the basic concepts. Okay, so it means, okay, I can say that the internal generated voltage is actually proportional to the IF, okay, in the case of DC motor. Okay, so we can get the similar expressions, similar curve, that for example, if this is IF, okay, and this is EA, okay, now as the IF will be changing, increasing, my internal generated voltage will be increasing. We are talking about for the fixed speed, okay, so I will get the similar curve until it reaches the saturation point. Okay, so this is the magnetization curve. Okay, we are driving this for the fixed speed. Okay, so the internal generated voltage will be actually proportional to your field current, and field current is actually what? Just the VF divided by the RF, right? So this is the magnetization curve for the DC motor, just a general understanding. Okay, now let's see the separately excited and shunt DC motor. Okay, this was special DC motor types, and we will analyze their equivalent circuits first. So if you are like making the you want to study, okay, as I said earlier, okay, for the general case, if you are supplying the separate voltage supply for the field circuit, and you are supplying the separate for your armature circuit, okay, then this will be your generalized circuit model. So this is basically the same equivalent circuit model which you have seen earlier. Okay, so in this case IF, okay, will be just equal to VF divided by the RF, okay, or the RF plus, or you can say that VF divided by RF plus R adjustments, okay, and the Vt, okay, will be just equal to Ea plus Ia into Ra. Okay, so the important thing which you guys must remember here, okay, if you are using the separately excited DC motor, okay, then the load current whatever you are supplying will be same, okay, as of the armature currents. That is very important thing here. Okay, if you are supplying the DC separately excited DC motor, then your load current and the armature current will be same. Okay, now let's see the second case. So for example, if you are using the shunt DC motor, the parallel configuration, okay, that you are feeding the both field circuit and the armature circuit with the same source, okay, and they are connected in parallel. So if you connect your field circuit, okay, in parallel with your main supply, so basically this is the equivalent circuit of the shunt DC motor or parallel DC motor. Okay, now here of course if you want to calculate the field current, so field current will be this voltage drop, which is actually Vt divided by your Rf plus R adjustments, right? Here we were using the Vf, okay, here we are using the Vt, whatever the voltage drop we are having here. And if you want to calculate Ea, so here actually the voltage drop is Vt, right? So the Ea or Vt will be just equal to same, the Ia times Ra plus the Ea. Okay, so this equation is same as in the series separately excited DC motor. Next, the important thing is now this is your load current which is coming from your supply, and this load current is dividing into the field current and the armature current. Okay, so basically the load current is equal to armature current plus the field current here. Okay, so that is the difference between this and this one. In the shunt DC motor, your load current is dividing into two because you are making the parallel case. Okay, the shunt DC, and If will be changed to Vt over this one. Okay, so these are just the general equivalent circuit models, okay, for the two different kinds of the DC motors. Okay, so let me just now very important thing, okay, is the characterization of the terminal characteristics of motor. Okay, so we will see about the shunt DC motor. Okay, so the output characteristics, okay, or the terminal characteristics of the DC motors are basically that how you are actually relating your shaft speed with the torque. Okay, that is actually meaning of the terminal characteristics of your shunt DC motors, that how we are actually relating the shaft speed and the torque. Okay, so now let's study for the shunt DC motor case. Okay, so we know that if we apply the Kirchhoff voltage law, we get this expression, okay, for both the series and the shunt DC motors. Okay, and I'm making some derivations. Okay, so what was the Ea? Ea was K flux times omega. So if you put this thing here, okay, so we will get this equation, right? So if I just put this thing is equal to here, and what was the induced torque? So earlier we derived in the induced torque relationship, that was equal to K flux times of the armature current, right? So induced torque is this one. Okay, or I can say that basically armature current is equal to induced torque divided by the K times of the flux, right? So I can put this expression Ia here, right? So if I put this expression here, okay, we will get this form of the Vt. Okay, so our target is we want to get the study the terminal characteristics. Terminal characteristics, we want to study the shaft speed and the induced torque. So from this expression, okay, if we rearrange, do some algebra, okay, we can write the angular speed, motor speed, okay, in this form from this expression. It will be equal to Vt divided by K flux phi minus Ra K flux square and torque induced. So just like some algebra, so we can get this expression here. Okay, so this is the expression for the output characteristics. Okay, so for example, now if you want to plot this one, okay, let's say this axis is my induced torque and this axis is my motor speed. So if induced torque is 0, okay, then angular velocity will be this constant, right? Whatever value we are having. So for example, let's say I'm getting one value here. Okay, now when the induced torque will be increasing, okay, so this is the maximum value. Okay, when the induced torque is increasing, so I will be getting, my speed will be decreasing, right? So now here when the induced torque is increasing, this is my maximum value, which is Vt over K times flux when the induced torque is 0, and then the angular speed will be decreasing. So if you are using the shunt DC motor, so in the shunt DC motors, as your load is increasing, as your load requirements are increasing, okay, load requirement increasing means the required induced torque is increasing. So if the required induced torque is increasing, then the speed of your motor will be decreasing. Okay, this is the basic characteristics for the shunt DC motors. Okay, so then we have this example. Okay, let me solve this example during the live session. Okay, and we will discuss this example and a couple of more characteristics for the speed control of the shunt DC motor. So we have learned the output characteristics for the shunt DC motors. Okay, so we will review this and we will solve this example during the live session. Okay, so that is actually the end of the first part of this lecture. Okay, so see you during the live session, okay, with this example. Thank you very much for your time.